Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Just a continuation of this marathon Ramadan program. We are now back with Sumareo TV and play the voice of my favorite Qari, Muhammad Samba from the Bintu Fati Quran School. Please listen carefully.
فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصم ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again reminds us again, this is almost word for word as he says in the other ayah, if you are sick or on a journey, then the same number of other days. And وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, this is also very important, to complete the count. You remember in the other verse he says أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ, they are countable number of days, meaning also that they are not very many days. It's 30 days or 29 days. It's not that many. So أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ, so it's countable number of days, and complete the day. وَلِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةِ, so to complete the days. And one tafsir I really like is that Tukmil Kamal also means perfection, to perfect the days. So you make the days to be perfect, not only the count, but also the quality. Not the quantity only, but also the quality of your days. So we should be prepared now to have a quality Ramadan. So this is one of the meanings you can take from Kamal, from Tukmilul Iddah. And then it says, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا and glorify Allah, magnify Allah, ala ma hadakum, and because of the way that He guided you. There are so many people who are not guided to this. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ, so that you may be thankful. So we just continue with some if this then that, like we are doing the fiqh of Ramadan. Some pointers here. What about somebody has a wet dream during the day of Ramadan while he's fasting? You have a wet dream, sleeping, and you have a secretion of semen. This does not break your fast, man or woman. This does not break your fast at all, but you still have to perform ghusl before you pray. But it does not break your fast. Now, when someone is intimate with his wife during Ramadan, this is one of the very highly punished sins. It's a major sin, intentionally performing. It has to be intentional, isn't it? Being intimate, which means performing actually the act of sexual intercourse, not only kissing. They said the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss his wives and used to hug them, but sexual intercourse during the day of Ramadan is one of the very, very seriously punished. And how is it punished? You free a slave. This is the punishment. You must free a believing slave. Nowadays we don't have. In fact, slavery was such a big industry back in the day, and Islam worked in a way to actually stop it. It didn't stop it completely during the life of the Prophet, but there, as you can see, the Quran has so many injunctions to see for freeing a slave. In so many things, the kafara, the expiation of a sin is to free a slave. Little wonder, after a few decades or century, slavery was completely a forgotten matter. Now there is no slavery. Now, having said that, the Quran says if you cannot free a slave, you don't have a slave, or there is no slavery like in our time of days now, what you do is you fast 60 consecutive days. After Ramadan, that day that you perform that sexual intercourse during the day of Ramadan, you make it up by fasting 60 consecutive days. If you fast 50 days, 52 days, 53rd day, you break that fast, you start all over again. So this is the punishment, the kafara for that sin to be forgiven. So again, so this is what you do. Now, if somebody is forced, this question was asked before. Now, the woman, for example, was forced by the husband to perform sexual intercourse during the day of Ramadan, or maybe the woman also forces the man. I'll just add that there. That just came to my mind now. The woman forces the man. I don't know how that is possible, but the sin is not upon the person that was forced to perform this act, and she or he does not have to make up for that day. It doesn't have to make up for that day. The sin is all on that person who actually forced. And I don't see how the woman can actually force the man. Anyway, so they said, what about the fasting person who does not pray? The fourth word that I'm going to take here is that his fast is useless, because the foundation of your faith is that you to be a Muslim is that you do your prayers, like the 5 daily prayers. The person who does not perform the 5 daily prayers according to this fatwa, according to the majority of the ulama, is that he is kafir, he is not a Muslim. Like the Prophet ﷺ says, al-farqu baynana wa baynahum as-salah faman tarakahu fahuwa kafir. So the person who does not pray is kafir, and the foundation of the fasting has to be that you are a Muslim and you do fast. Now, if a traveler arrives at his destination, now you broke your fast and you were traveling, because of traveling and you were not fasting, and then you arrive at your destination, you should abstain. You should behave like the fasting persons, even though it does not count. That day will not count for you because you already broke your fast. Now, using toothpaste, toothbrush, stuff like that does not break your fast during the day of Ramadan. Now, if you accidentally swallow something, some water, it still does not break your fast. Using skin lotion does not corrupt your fast at all. Using perfume does not corrupt your fast. Tasting food, okay? The food has to go through the throat before it breaks your fast. So tasting food does not break your fast. Somebody who is feeding a child and you want to chew the food before you feed it to the child does not also break your fast. You should also wash your mouth clean and make sure nothing goes through the throat. Now, if one eats forgetfully, let's spend a little bit of time here. You actually used to taking this and drinking, sipping some water, or you have a water fountain, you always pass by it, you always drink. So forgetting that you are fasting, and this happens to many people during the first few days of Ramadan. So forgetfully, you take something and eat because of habit. This does not break your fast. In fact, there is hadith that Allah has fed you this. So it doesn't break your fast if you forget and eat something. And if somebody sees you, he should remind you that, my brother, you are fasting, and you should stop immediately. You should stop immediately that thing you are taking. As soon as you realize, you should stop it. Now, there is something similar, calculated error. You think that it is sunset and you eat something because you think that it's sunset, or the time for sunset is 7:30, the time of Maghrib is 7:30, and you have a clock, for example, that says 17:30. 17:30, oh, it is 7:30 without checking anything. You are in a dark room, you start, let me break my fast. You broke your fast, but you are aware. It's not like you forgot. It's not like you forgot. You actually calculated and thinking that it is sunset. Or you wake up, and you think that it is still night. It is not Fajr yet. You think that it is not Fajr, and you eat something quickly. So in both cases, you are not sinful because you think it is night. It is now outside of the fasting period, fasting time. So what you do is that you must make up for that day. That day does not count for you because it is your fault. It is different than the mistake. I don't know if you see that point. The mistake is you completely don't know that you are fasting. You just take something and drink or eat. You didn't think that you are fasting. It is different than you know that you are fasting, but you think it is sunset and you are careless. You didn't do proper homework and you eat. So because of this, that day does not count for you. And the ulama say that you are not sinful because you sincerely thought it is sunset or it is at night, so the day doesn't count for you. Now, a driver who's traveling, or just somebody on a journey that arrives at a destination and where he plans to stay for more than 4 days. He plans to stay at that destination. He was not fasting during travel, and he plans to stay for more than 4 days at that destination. He should fast. He should fast during those days because he should be considered as somebody who is stationary, who is time at that place. Now, if he does not intend to fast, to stay at that place for more than 4 days, he went to Basse just for 1 or 2 days. During those 2 days, he is allowed to break his fast, and journey back, he is again allowed to break his fast. But okay, now you do not intend to stay for more than 4 days. You only intend to stay for 3 days or so, and all of a sudden, man is what you plan and God disposes, or something like this. I can't remember the phrase. But now, after the 4 days, you are still there. After 5 days, you're there. You should now change and start to fast. Okay, so let's talk about bleeding. So if you are bleeding does not, due to an injury, your nose is bleeding or something, it does not break your fast. But if large amount of blood is coming out of you, this one, like they say, cupping breaks your fast. You should not do cupping like hijama. It's not very common here, but like you put bottles and then suck a lot of blood from you, or you donate blood, this breaks your fast. Now, if you also like donating blood, but to take blood sample from you, like those small tubes that just the size of my finger, taking blood samples for medical reasons or whatever, that does not break your fast. Now, intentionally vomiting breaks a fast. So if you throw your finger in your throat to bleed, or you to vomit, or you use something that makes you nausea, whatever, so you bleed, so you vomit, this one breaks your fast. However, unintentional vomiting, out of no fault of your, or for whatever reason, you just feel nauseatic and you vomit, this one does not break your fast. If you intentionally do it, it breaks your fast. It's one of the things that breaks the fast. So we can stop here again. Thank you very much for joining us again at Sumareo TV for this program on Ramadan.